Hi guys, I'm back. Just wanted to do a video because I'm kind of upset. I was up late last night. Actually, I've been up all night pretty much because I was watching the commentary on different stations in regards to the Trayvon Martin case, the verdict that is, and I honestly feel like I knew I knew that the verdict was going to come back the way that it did once I saw who they chose for the jury. And I was just praying that even within that, the fact of the matter that when a jury is chosen, it's supposed to be a jury of your peers. And of course, the jury was not a jury of Trayvon Martin's peers. You had, you know, an all-female jury and not one African American on the jury. Because, well, so that in itself let me knew. I knew right off. It let me know that things were going to be seen one way. And I say this because you have to look at all the evidence in the case. There are a lot of people that are chiming in or making assumptions or saying things in reference to this trial that just started watching television last week. Some people who just started watching 3 weeks ago and have not been following everything for the last 17 months. So I don't think that it's fair for anyone who has not actually watched how things have unfolded over the last 17 months to even try their best to weigh in if they don't know or haven't paid attention, should I say, paid attention to all of the facts in this case. I'm not a lawyer, by any means. But even I was looking at the evidence and looking at the way that the trial was being handled by counsel, by the prosecution as well as defense counsel, and I was upset with the prosecution because a lot of questions were left unanswered. A lot of questions were not asked. There was no follow-through on a lot of things that went down, and it made me feel as though they wanted the verdict to come back as not guilty. And even with some of the commentary that I've watched with some of the attorneys around the world are saying the same exact thing. Even before because I'm sitting here like, is it just me? Why didn't they follow through on this question? Or why wasn't this question asked? And why, it really, really bothered me. And people have to understand when you're involved in any type of case, whether it be theft, murder, whatever it may be, the defense counsel has their job to make their client look innocent or as innocent as possible, and the prosecution has their job to stand up for the person who is alleging or stating that this person has wronged them in some form or fashion. So they have to, they're there to fight the fight for that person. And I just don't feel that things were handled the right way. First off, the female attorney was the lead attorney, and she didn't even try the case. And that bothered me because it was all you saw was and I'm sorry guys, I'm just have to, the facts speak for themselves. You saw all white defense counsel as far as defending Zimmerman, and representing Trayvon in court was a white male, a white lawyer. What I'm saying is I'm by no means, I don't agree with anyone saying anything hatred or being hateful or racist or anything of that nature. I've raised my oldest child. She's had a white boyfriend before. She's had a Spanish boyfriend. We don't discriminate in my house. I was not raised that way. My mother did not raise me that way. She raised us in the fashion of saying if someone wrongs you or you're mad at someone, be mad at that person, not the race of the people or the creed or the color of that person's skin. Because a black person can hurt you, a white person can hurt you, an Indian can hurt you, a Chinese person can hurt you. Bottom line, anyone can hurt you or do you wrong or do you harm. So you cannot blame an entire race of people for something that one person has done. what bothers me is listening to the 911 call. Now, Trayvon Martin's, their legal team had to actually sue, file a motion to even have that tape released to be heard. Okay, because I felt like, it was damaging to Zimmerman. He's sent all these racial epithets about this young man. Now, rightly so, I understand the Trayvon Martin's friend, when she was actually testifying, she did say that Trayvon had some racial slurs as well. One thing people have to understand, I don't condone Trayvon calling Zimmerman a cracker at all. I don't condone that. But I understand why he was saying these things. He's walking, minding his own business through a neighborhood where his father lives, and someone's following him. And so he's like, why is this, following me? And he was acting, I guess, off a natural reaction of why am I being followed? And the thing is, if you've never been profiled, if you've never been followed before for no reason, you won't understand the feeling a person has when you're just minding your own business and someone is paying too much attention to you or focusing too much on you when they shouldn't be worried about you. Now, I understand and I get it. Zimmerman was in a neighborhood. They've had some break-ins. They've had some things happen, and perhaps, for Trayvon may have fit the profile or, for some of the crimes that were committed in that neighborhood. But if you don't know factually that that's the person that did the crime, you can't assume that that's the person who did the crime or that person is there to do crime. You're not a police officer. Why are you following this person? Now, okay, I digress. Let me do this. He has a right, Zimmerman does, to follow someone that he feels may be causing harm or may wreak havoc in their neighborhood. But that's all he had the right to do, was follow this young man, not pursue him in the fact of the matter to make the boy think he was being hunted or harassed. There's a way to follow a person and they not know that you're following them. You understand? Why didn't he do that? Why didn't he act in a fashion where the young man wouldn't even know that he was being followed? Or, if Zimmerman, is on the neighborhood watch, per se, did he know someone else's telephone number there where he could call a couple of the neighbors and say, hey, I'm seeing this guy, a suspicious guy in the neighborhood, just keep a look out your window. I'm gonna call someone further down the street, and we just want to make sure, where this young man's going. You're a part of the neighborhood watch. Watching the neighborhood means the neighborhood should be watching the neighborhood. Okay, which means we work together to do this. You don't take it upon yourself to play super cop, especially when you call who you're supposed to call, the authorities, and they tell you to stand down. I don't care that it wasn't a police officer that told him to stand down. The lady instructed him in the right fashion. Don't follow this. Don't harass the boy. Don't approach the boy. But what does he do? Play super cop. And now look what has happened. And that's the problem that I have with some people. Sometimes, some people think they're better than they are, or they're more than what they are, more than what they should be, and feel as though they have the right to do what they want to do, even though it may be against the law or against the rules. I just don't agree with how things were done during this case. I honestly don't. And to me, unfortunately, I do feel it's two-parted. It was the fact of the matter they had some break-ins in the neighborhood, and perhaps Zimmerman wanted to show everyone in the neighborhood that he was worthy of being, head man on campus, and that he could protect the neighborhood, as he had already supposedly went to aid someone else that had been broken into in the neighborhood. But he wanted to go that step further and show I can apprehend the suspect. I can do this, And sometimes people get off on that. Some people make themselves feel good about doing something that they're not even supposed to be doing, and try to justify what they're doing. I don't know. I'm just at a loss of words. I really am. I'm just really upset because now you have such civil unrest in the world. And there's just so many people weighing in on both sides. Some people say justice was done, some people say it's not. And personally, like I said, in my opinion, everyone has their opinion. So anyone that watches this video, you have the right to say whatever you want to say. But if you're going to comment on what I'm saying today, be nice, be fair, be cordial. We can agree to disagree. You don't leave any racial or ignorance or anything stupid on my page, because I wouldn't do that to you. Okay? You have your opinion, I have mine. I'm just voicing my opinion. So when you voice your opinion, just do it eloquently. If you can't be intelligent in what you do, just don't do it. Okay? Well, anyway, I don't know. All I do know is that Zimmerman's life will never be the same. He will never be able to walk down a street and not have to turn around and watch his back, because unfortunately there are some people that are bad people, or people who are vigilantes that will do whatever they want to do no matter what, no matter if it's right or wrong or right. They're going to do what they want to do. And just like when people feel as though an injustice has been done and then it goes through the court system and justice still isn't done, some people take justice into their own hands. It's just like the Casey Anthony case. She, whatever happened to her daughter happened to her daughter. But guess what? She's living a miserable life right now because she can't live in her same neighborhood. She can't be in certain places without somebody wanting probably to hurt her or attack her, unfortunately. It's unfortunate. But that's just how it is. And I feel like perhaps the same thing is going to happen to Mr. Zimmerman. That some people in this world don't care about the fact that he went to court and was found not guilty. Some people feel as though sometimes justice is going to be better served if they take care of it. I mean, I don't feel that it's right. I really don't, and I don't condone it, and I don't want anyone going out there doing anything to him or his family, or or hurting anyone else, or or doing anything, destroying anything, or doing anything, because it's not going to bring the young man back, and it's not going to make things right. So if anyone's watching this video and you feel as though you want to take things into your own hands, don't do it. It's not worth it. Let God handle it. God, in the end, God handles everything and everyone. We may not be able to see what happens, but it's in God's hands. He'll take care of it. A part of this whole thing could have been that as far as this tragedy happening, is for all of us as Americans and people to be aware, or more aware of our actions and what we should and should not do in certain situations. Bringing to the attention of some of the laws that need to be changed or tweaked or taken off the books or what have you. So this particular case has brought about a lot of things that we socially as Americans have to make sure that we're paying attention to certain things, especially like when we're voting. We need to make sure we're voting on certain laws that come across the table when it's time for us to vote. Don't just vote for the president or vote for your favorite council person and that's it. You got to vote on the laws so that we can make sure that our voices are heard, so when certain situations come up like this, that the right things are being done, plain and simple. But I do feel that there should have been a major opposition to the jury. First off, that those jurors should not have been all female. I'm sorry. You've got to have some people in the mix that can give you a different perspective. As a woman, I can't completely think like a man, okay? And sometimes, and as far as the struggle, what happened between Trayvon, allegedly happened, that Zimmerman's story about what Trayvon did to him or whatever. It's just, I think having a male's point of view in that, when they went to recess or what have you, could have made a difference. Having an African American explain to those people that are in there about being profiled. Because I'm going to tell you a story. A lot of people don't think about this, but I do. When I was in high school years ago, I graduated in 1990. There were people that went to school with me, and you used to hear them talking all the time about certain things, and there was this particular little group, little clique that always wore like the baddest clothes. I mean, we all dressed nice, but they always wore the bad. I mean, when I say bad, I mean they were sharp. Always wore Jordans or the best shoes and things of that nature. And I always wonder what was going on. So I was privy to a conversation once, and Found out that it was 4 black girls and they had 2 white friends. And what they would do is go to the different malls, and they would all go into the store, like either at different times or what have you, um, so that they would make sure that the black girls were not with the white girls when they went into the store. So what would happen is the store clerks and even perhaps I guess the cameraman will be watching the black girls as they were in the store while the white girls were stealing. They set that little group set it up that way where they knew, what, we're going to be followed no matter what. So we're going to go and we're going to touch all these high-end clothes. So what they would do is go in and maybe touch this leather jacket or touch this, letting the white girls know this is what we need to steal today. They would go off into another section. And some department stores have the plainclothes, security. So the plainclothes security is following these black girls, but the white girls are the ones that steal it. So they go out afterwards or whatever, and just laugh it off about how much stuff, thousands of dollars of stuff they were stealing, from the stores, only because the black girls were being profiled. They were being watched. And that still happens today, that, I've had it happen where I've walked into a store and you're being followed. I mean, I don't care if I have on my church attire or, a business suit, or if I'm looking, plain like I am right now. It still happens today, if you go into a high-end store where even if you're just walking through a store where people for some reason feel as though you don't belong, you're in Neiman Marcus, or you're in this store, or you're in that store. Not to say that it happens at all in Neiman Marcus's, but I'm just saying it's happened before when I've walked through one, and I was dressed to the T, so dressed better than most of the people that were walking around in there. So I'm just saying, sometimes that does happen to people, and if you've never had it happen to you, you can't say that, oh, I understand. You will never understand. You'll never understand. You may empathize, but you cannot understand how it feels to be walking down a street and someone is looking at you in a negative fashion because of who you are. And honestly, I know they had break-ins in the neighborhood, but I honestly believe that's why Trayvon was followed, because he was a black young man that Zimmerman didn't know when he was in the neighborhood. And it could have been any black young man that could have been walking through the neighborhood that would have had the same travesty would have happened to that person, because he was on a mission to try to prove something to his neighborhood, that he could do this and do that and protect them, when the best form of protection at that point would have been for him to stay idle, stay back, and make sure he kept an eye on Trayvon, but waited till the police came so that the police could handle it from there. He didn't do that. So to me, it's just wrong, because had it been the other way around, and it would have been found that a young white male was shot by a black person, and the young man was carrying some Skittles, I know the outcome would have been totally different. But my heart goes out to Trayvon's parents. May God give them the strength that they need to go on and to basically heal from this. I just only wish them words of encouragement. And to any other parent out there who's lost a child in any type of fashion that was not warranted, my heart goes out to you. I wouldn't know what to do if something happened to one of my daughters. I honestly wouldn't know what to do. If, someone were to call me and say my daughter was shot because she was walking through a neighborhood with some Skittles, it's sad. It really is. And I don't know. Well, moving on, of course, we're looking at a civil case, hopefully, that's going to come through, and some of the evidence that was not allowed in this court, I'm sure will be allowed in the civil court. And if things are done the right way, I believe he'll be found guilty of violating the young man's civil rights. I honestly do. Once they play the tape and basically let all the evidence that did not come out, or was not allowed out, or was not pursued the right way by the prosecutors, once the evidence comes out, I feel like it's a good chance that he could be found guilty of violating Trayvon's civil rights. I mean, you have to look at all the dynamics and wonder if you're following someone, what makes you feel as though you have to get out of the car to go chase somebody? Okay, he could say or argue, well, I got out of the car because I didn't want to take my eyes off of him. That's why if you have an effective neighborhood watch, if you do what you're supposed to do when you're doing your neighborhood watch, everyone that's a part of the neighborhood watch should have everybody's telephone number so that in a case like this or a situation like this, the entire neighborhood's watching, not just one person out to try to accomplish something that wasn't his to accomplish. Bottom line. So, guys, I just hope that justice does prevail, at least in a civil matter. And I guess we'll just have to watch and see what happens. So, guys, just make sure that, like I said, if you know anybody who's planning on doing something bad or doing something wrong to try to get their own sense of justice, let them know that's not the right way. Handle it the right way, and the right results will then follow. So, don't be angry. Just pray and hope that in the future nothing like this is ever allowed to happen again, that justice will prevail in another case. So I thank you guys for listening, and hey, tell me what you think. Leave me a comment. What do you think? Do you agree with the decision that was made? And if you do, why? If you don't agree, why don't you agree? What do you think? Well, thank you guys. I appreciate your time, and this is Chi Chi signing out again on Get the Tea with the Chi, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.